I'm seeing Chuck Schumer here. I don't know. It says, Schumer is crying again after Dems were forced to fold again. I would love to play the clip, but I haven't previewed it. And these days, Schumer drops the F-bomb. So I don't know. How the hell are we living in a world where you can't cold play a politician speaking about something going on in the government out of fear that he might drop an F-bomb? I'm going to play it, but stay on the dump button, guys, at home base. You never know. Let's see what Schumer's saying about this.
Democrats have been fighting to get the Senate to address the health care crisis. This bill does nothing to ensure that that crisis is addressed. I am voting no, and I will keep fighting.
I was scared there. Oh, no. Oh, shut up. This guy. All right. Yeah, look at that. Health care. This isn't a health care bill. The health care debate, even if they decided today, the Republicans and Democrats decided to get together and discuss the health care issue. Let's just say that. It would be months, if not a year, before they could hammer something out. And what, the government's supposed to stay closed until the Republicans give in to a Democrat health care proposal and program and expense, instead of signing this bill that just reopens the government and getting together afterwards to now, do your jobs. Oh, I will be voting no. Good. Be that guy. Another one in New York, reelected every time. He's holding the office like a pope. And what do you get from Chuck Schumer, New York? What the hell are you getting? This guy is the slickest lifer politician. It's all about him and his power and money. He's a disgusting individual, Chuck Schumer. Disgusting. Oh, just Chuck Schumer. Oh, my God. Here's a little story. We'll get away from politics for a second and go to Hollywood. Oh, where's my sheet? I think I got it. I might have thrown it away with this. It's Kirsten Stewart, who is just annoying. Just an annoying, again, typical Hollywood. They know everything. And there she is. What has she said? Kirsten Stewart slams Hollywood's treatment of. Look, I could sit here and you guys could think of 20 different things because that's celebrities and that's Hollywood. What's the problem? Who's the victim this time? Well, Kirsten Stewart slams Hollywood's treatment of women filmmakers. After a brief moment of progress, she's very angry following the Me Too movement. Remember when the Oscars said that they were going to start making sure that minorities and women were involved in the production end of filmmaking, and that actresses were going to be paid the same amount as their male counterparts in motion pictures? The motion picture industry. Now you get the hell out of here. Well, in a post-Me Too moment, it seemed possible, this is what she said, the stories made by and for women were finally getting their due, that we might be allowed or even encouraged to express ourselves and our shared experience. All of our experiences without filter. But I can now attest to the bare-knuckle brawling that it takes every step of the way when the content is too dark, too taboo, when the frankness with which it serves up observations about experiences routinely experienced by women frequently provoke disgust and rejection. The backsliding from a brief moment of progress is statistically devastating. It is devastating. Such a pitiful number of films from the past year have been made by women. We obviously need many more women's luncheons in our lives. We need to become ladies who lunch all the effing time. Let me tell you a little something about the movie industry, Kirsten, whatever. It's all about asses in seats. That's it. Money, money, money. Will the film make money? If it doesn't, it's not going to be made. If they read a script, if they look at who's cast in it, if it's a woman's movie, it's not going to be made. The movie industry is in turmoil right now. It is a disaster. People are not going to see a lot of movies. One movie will come out. It'll do well. These superhero movies. I hear Frankenstein's pretty good. That was in the movie for a week. It's on Netflix now. But truth be told, it's all about money. And movies made by, for, starring women do not make the money that men, movies geared toward men can make. Kind of talking about the breaking news of the government shutdown being lifted, being taken care of. The Democrats seem to have folded. They got enough votes now to reopen the government. And let's talk to Steve from Manhattan. Oh, you got to hit that little continue button on the phones. You know, we're thousands and thousands of miles away from home base, so sometimes there is a technical glitch in the matrix. There we go. Thank you, sir. And we'll go to Steve in Manhattan. What's up, Steve? Yo, Steve. You're on the air. No.
It's an honor. It's an honor to be on your show, Anthony.
Oh, thank you, sir. There you are. What's up, Steve?
Well, first, New York City is headed for and will be in a communist winter. People have to realize when you invite millions of third worlders inside this country, and they vote for third worlders, why would anybody be surprised? People wanted people to vote for Cuomo. Cuomo legalized pot in this city. You walk down the streets in New York City and you smell that pot. And I just think of Andrew Cuomo when I smell that pot when I'm walking down the street.
It's terrible. And, you know, like I said before, they're give an inch, take a mile. They legalize pot, and now they all think it's completely legal and legitimate and fine to shoot heroin on every street corner, out in the open, tourist kids walking around. So anytime you give them, like, oh, we're legalizing weed, you could smoke it here. First of all, you're not supposed to smoke it walking down the street. Secondly, they take it and then go, oh, so we could do any drugs we want right out there in public. Don't give them the opportunity to run with something like legalized marijuana.
Right. And this man doofus, right? People have to realize conservatives are leaving New York. That's why the mayor's election wasn't really close. And the governor's race, how are you going to win if everybody's leaving? But the problem is, this is a utopia for them. There's a lot of communists in this country who will move in to New York City because of man doofus. And these people, a lot of people don't realize it. You don't live around them. I lived around them my whole life. They do not believe in private property rights.
No.
You're going to be, I'm talking about the average one. I'm in the store the other day. The woman had, like you described them, she had the button on. It says bleep Trump on it. I mean, that's the brain mentality of an amoeba brain, right? But the thing is, they vote. There's a lot of them now. They're coming from the third world. They will tell you that there are 1 million Muslims in New York City. I don't think they're all registered. I think a lot of them also came from around the country to come in and vote for man doofus. They don't bring that up. Now, this is November. November 9th is also the famous 65 blackout. I'm sure I think you're a little older than me. You might have been running around during that blackout. That was the beginning of the era of the looting. There wasn't that much looting. It wasn't until 77 when we had the was a doozy back then. And then also November 8th is when Dorothy Kilgallen.
I think that was
died.
67. I think, Steve, I think that was 67 blackout, not 65.
No, 67 and 68 are the riots.
Yeah, but I think New York, because I remember it being 1967. I don't know. We could argue till the cows come home.
Yeah, and you got to realize that I'm a former historian. And the day before, November 8th, Dorothy Kilgallen, who was on the Kennedy assassination, died, but a lot of people think she was murdered. The 7th would be the last appearance for her on What's My Line, and in October was the signing of the 65 Immigration Act. But that blackout and power outage was the beginning of the looting era in America. And it really hit the crescendo in 77.
Now you don't even need something to happen. You used to at least need a huge power failure, some kind of a civil rights thing, a murder or assassination of somebody. Now it's just loot whenever you want. Walk right in. Take what you want and walk right out. There's looting going on constantly now. It's amazing.
Right,
thanks, Steve. I gotta take off. I gotta move on, as they say, Steve. But thank you for your call. Another thing going on in New York, and this was Hochul. Hochul did this. The congestion pricing. I like how they call it things like that. Congestion pricing. It's a tax. She talks about not wanting to raise taxes for things like free buses because that affects her. Raise taxes, free buses. No, they'd rather just have the money from the buses. Why cut that stream of cash off? So she put this congestion pricing in place. And if you want to drive into Midtown Manhattan, a huge area of central Manhattan, it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you, I think it's $9. And if you drive out and then drive in, you're a delivery guy, what have you, you got to pay again. It's not a once a day thing. It's every single time. You could go one block out of the boundary and then drive back in. Boom, another $9. So there's that's been going on now for about a year, I guess. I'm not too good with time. I think it's about a year. And this woman, you're going to hear from her right now. She got a $600 bill for congestion pricing. And you could hear it in her voice and what she's saying, that what they proposed, what they thought this was going to do, isn't what is actually happening. People thought, or these politicians, Hochul, or maybe they didn't. Maybe they knew all along. But saying that most people will start taking public transportation because driving your own car in to the city will become too expensive. You want to save a couple of bucks. What, like $600? This woman is frustrated. You can hear it. And if they wanted people to take public transportation, don't you think they'd make it safer? So they're charging people money to drive themselves in the relative safety of your own vehicle, so that they take public transportation, but then putting policies in place that make public transportation the most dangerous thing you could do in New York. And then they tell you you're not allowed to carry anything with you to protect yourself. And then if some guy on the public transportation, the subway, let's say, wants to get involved and stop someone that's causing a problem, they will arrest him and put him on the trial for his life. So it all works out to it's either dangerous or expensive. That's New York. And it's only going to get more expensive and more dangerous. Let's listen to this lovely young lady. $600 for congestion pricing.
I just got a $600 bill in the mail from the congestion toll pricing from driving in New York. I've been driving in the city for years, at least 5-6 years, and I refuse to take public transportation because I've been assaulted twice on public transportation. The Uber prices are absolutely insane, and there just has to be a solution to this. Like, I can't go on. It's not safe. Like, public transportation is not safe. I'm not going on there. Like, no. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Like, I've been assaulted twice. Like, why would I go on public transportation again? So now I have to pay the price, $600, just to drive from Midtown to downtown. It's got to end. Needs to end.
Yeah, it won't. I'm sorry, lady. It won't. And if you, I'm feeling a little sympathy for you. I'm conjuring up some sympathy for you, miss. But if you voted for Kathy Hochul and Andrew Cuomo before her, and Adams for mayor, and Mamdani for mayor, then, because a lot of these people that have these gripes, they've voted for the very people that put them in this situation. So, I don't know. She just sounds very frustrated with the whole thing. And she brings up a point, too. She's been assaulted on public transportation in New York. Of course, I think every single woman that's ever been on public transportation in New York, especially of late during the de Blasio, Adams, and soon-to-be Mamdani terms, I think they've all been assaulted. And here's another thing. It's not just about, she was raped or had her head cracked open or some really horrific crime. There are so many of these sexual harassment and assaults that go completely unreported. It's become just part and parcel with taking public transportation in New York City to try to get to work or get home if you don't want to spend $600 to drive your car in. And women just assume, well, I guess I got to put up with this. The grab ass, the, rubbing up against them. All of this stuff happens all the time. Again, ask any woman that has to commute on a regular basis in New York City. She will tell you that she gets that constantly. And they don't want you to protect yourself. They don't want any form of chivalry where a man will step up and deck a guy that's doing this. And they've proven that by arresting people and putting them on trial for doing just that. So now you got guys that might want to step up, but they're not going to risk their livelihood to do that. So, chivalry's dead in New York, and they make it more dangerous and more expensive to try to take your own vehicle and to try to have some self-reliance. Protect yourself. Drive yourself in. Not have to commingle with mental patients and violent criminals. Can I do that if I live in New York? They've told you, no, you are not allowed. You can't. And don't expect anyone to save you. Here's a bright little note for everybody before break. We'll be right back. Stay around.
Everyone loves when I talk about our good friend Steven Singer. Hey, it's Anthony Cumia here. I've been telling you about Steven, the I Hate Steven Singer guy, for decades. If you haven't heard yet, Steven Singer Jewelers was named one of America's leading jewelers. There are almost 18,000 jewelers in America, and less than 50 jewelers have received this wonderful honor. Just another reason why other jewelers hate him. They hate Steven Singer. Steven's a jeweler you can trust. He has the best guarantees, the best warranties, and all at the perfect price 365 days a year. Steven always has the best value on real diamond jewelry. No phony sales, no fake discounts or pricing games, no nonsense ever. Just easy and fun. That's why he's considered one of the most trusted jewelers in America. No one does diamonds better. Experience the difference at Steven Singer Jewelers. Online at IHateStevenSinger.com. That's IHateStevenSinger.com.
Apparently the Senate could vote Sunday tonight on advancing a potential breakthrough deal to end the country's longest ever government shutdown. Fund the government through January 30th, where what? We got to go through all this again? And fully restore food stamp aid for 42 million people, among other critical programs. Senate GOP leadership is tentatively eyeing a procedural vote on the deal later Sunday, but the situation's very fluid. And there are parliamentary gimmicks progressive Dems could deploy to theatrically, no, it says theoretically, but it seems to be theatrically, keep the government shut down for a few more days, even if the deal advances. Imagine that. You have the Democrats the entire time of this shutdown blaming Trump's shutdown, starving children, and they could possibly keep this from being resolved for a few more days just to not give Trump and the Republicans the so-called win. It's a win for everyone. Open the government. I was saying before, initially, it seems like, the government, do we need it? It's not being funded, but I wake up, I drive my car, I go through there, and then after a few days and then weeks go by, you start realizing, planes are lined up down the taxiways and runways, and they're not leaving the airports. There are some crucial, critical government agencies that need to be open and funded. And for these vultures, these Democrats, to want to keep that problem going. The deal features two major components: a temporary funding patch to give the government, keep it open through January 30th, and a $3 minibus measure to permanently fund government programs related to military, veterans, and Department of Agriculture for the remainder of the fiscal year 2026. A minibus. They should all be in minibuses, those yellow ones with hockey helmets on. There's a load of... Crucially, the minibus provisions on the Department of Agriculture, fully fund the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP. So again, they had to get that in there. SNAP funding ran out November 1st. We all know that. And Trump administration tapped into the contingency fund to partially keep the program afloat for a few more weeks. It looks like it's going to happen. It looks like it's going to happen. A lot of Democrats, we heard from Chuck Schumer, he is livid that the government will be financed and some of his ridiculously liberal money-wasting programs will not be attached to this reopening of the government. But you saw after the January 30th funding, they will continue with some, Democrat proposals and SNAP and all the other things, that health care. How about open the government and now you can sit and talk about all that other garbage? It's a clown show. Boy, I thought like Reagan and Tip O'Neill were at odds all the time, at each other's throats. Reagan and Tip, remember that? They'd get into arguments about policy and politics, and then, they kind of figured it out. They'd figure these things out. There's such disdain for each other now. There isn't this, we go at it, we trade some blows, but it's all for America, and then we come out of it and we pat each other on the back and blah, blah, blah. It's vicious now. Back then, well, okay, Tip, a few dollars for, well, one of your programs. And then it was all done. Now just hatred and division and blame. It happens all the time. But it looks like it's going to happen. Looks like the government will be reopened for like a month, 2 months. And then we'll see what happens after that. These two parties are incapable of sitting down and having a civil discourse about what this country needs. It is the worst it's ever been. I've seen Congress and the Senate divided over the course of American history, my own lifetime, and never has it been to this point where they hate each other. They drop F-bombs about each other on national television. It's bad. It is bad. And it's not just Trump. There are two unbelievably different ideologies as to how this country should be run. And there is zero motivation to compromise with each other on a lot of these issues because they're so outrageous. And again, I'm a Republican. I consider myself conservative, although I do have some left-leaning ideas about certain social programs. But we've never been like this before. And it always seems to be, and I think I'm open-minded, believe it or not, that the liberal Democrats come up with these insane ideas, these insane wastes of money and crimes against humanity. You know, they believe that our paychecks should finance the removal of healthy breasts on young women because that week they've decided they're a different gender. That's insanity. I don't want to pay for that. I think a lot of America does not want to pay for that. But they will shove this in your face and try to get bills passed, attach it to things important like government shutdowns, reopening the government, having planes fly on schedule safely, not banging into each other like a pool table. But no, they want these insane things attached to it. And that's why we're so divided. Because there are just, you will never change a conservative's mind or a rational American's mind that healthy organs should be removed from young people under the guise of some sexual freedom. It's mental. It's absolutely mental. But that's where we are. I'm glad that they have to sign this bill. Enough Democrats came forward. They were either offered favors or, because it's always the way, they were offered favors or something else. They didn't just all of a sudden decide for the good of the nation. And it might have also been, with Thanksgiving coming up, they're going to pick a side that was to blame. And when America does see that the Republicans just wanted to open the government and the Democrats wanted a bunch of things attached, and that's why I couldn't fly to see Grandma on Thanksgiving, that could make some problems. And I think a few of them saw that and decided to sign the bill. Be back in a moment. Let's talk to Joaquin in PA. Joaquin, what's up?
Hey, good evening, Anthony. I have the perfect plan for President Trump to deal with Mamdani. But first, I want to get on one thing, though. Did you see the video of that young girl in New York City who was sitting there cheering for Mamdani and for Sharia law and for Islam?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. You know what? My compassion only goes so far as for what these idiots vote for. And I hope that she marries a good, fundamental Muslim man, who that when she acts out, has to beat her. And then she goes trying to, claim domestic violence, and Sharia law officer comes and says, "Oh, you got no case." These people need to get exactly what they ask for.
Yeah, it seems like it. And the worse it gets, the more they complain, and then the more they just vote for the same crap.
And you know something, history is being rewritten, because I've been doing some looking into the founding fathers and what they said, because somebody's been saying that, they didn't say anything against Islam. Yes, they did, as a matter of fact. They considered Islam a false religion, and the term Mohammedan that they used actually was a derogatory designation. So they actually allowed these people to have, religious freedom, in as far as it does not, constitute a danger to the country. So right. it is within their, within their mindset to actually keep these kind of people out of the country if necessary. All right?
Do you think, like the founding fathers, without looking at what was written or the legend of the founding fathers, can you imagine these guys trying their damnedest to build this country, to come up with documents that give people rights and kind of spell out what this country is supposed to be all about, and then going, yeah, let's have savages. Imagine what Islam was like in the 1700s. I know it hasn't changed much, but it had to be even worse before they got oil money or anything else. So could you imagine the founding fathers going, yeah, right in the middle of all of these immigrants and settlers that are coming here working, they know how to run plows and covered wagons, and they're building houses and moving westward. We want these absolute savages intermingled with them. For what? What would be the upside? They definitely did not want that in this country.
General George S. Patton's observation when he was in North Africa, there's a quote from him, I don't have it in front of me.
Yep.
But when he refers to the Arabs, he says, if they had been Christians, imagine where they'd be now, because they're still where they were back in 700. But now, Trump and Mandami, this is what I would do if I was President Trump. I wish I was one of his advisors. I would make Mandami sit there and keep begging like a dog, to have to see President Trump.
Yeah.
And then I would have one of my underlings finally contact him and arrange an appointment. And in the meantime, I would call Bibi Netanyahu and ask him to come over and sit with me in the Oval Office, and have Mandami sitting out there waiting for a while, and then walk out of the office and look and, oh, I'm so sorry, I forgot. I have something more important to do. Hey, Bibi, come on, let's go. We got to get down to Mar-a-Lago and play some golf.
Yeah, that would kind of be a thorn in his side, I believe. Thank you, Joaquin. Yes. Bibi Netanyahu. My God. The theme tonight, if there is a theme, has been women and celebrity. Kind of had a few stories about that this evening, and it doesn't stop because one of my favorites, and I know one of yours, Jane Fonda. Jane Fonda. Here's a woman that has no sense of self-awareness. This woman is despised by half the country. Not just like De Niro. De Niro has alienated his fan base. He's, people don't like him. You'll still watch his movies, and you go, oh, that guy's a jackass, whatever. Jane Fonda is despised, though, hated by half the country. And the further you go back to the veterans of the Vietnam War, you can't find a person that is hated more by those people. Ho Chi Minh is higher on the list than Jane Fonda as far as Vietnam vets go. She's always got to get there and bash Trump and Republicans, MAGA. She don't like MAGA people. And she thinks anyone wants to actually put any credence into what she's saying with her terrible nasally voice. I think Jane Fonda says that Trump voters weren't MAGA. All of them were not MAGA. All Trump voters weren't MAGA. And they will eventually regret their vote. And here's the real kicker. Democrats need to open their arms and take in these poor, misguided Republicans and hug them, invite them aboard to become more like Jane Fonda. Oh, brother. Let's hear Jane, Hanoi Jane, as they called her.
Was I 100% happy with President Biden? Absolutely not. I get so mad
she says that
at
now.
People who say, I don't like him, so I'm not going to vote. One young person, and I said, if we don't get Biden reelected, or then it was Kamala.
Young person to her is 60.
We're going to have fascism. And this young person said to me, we already have fascism. We don't teach civics anymore, so they don't understand. What's happening now is leading to fascism.
Do you think Democrats need to change their messaging?
Absolutely.
How do you think they should change their messaging?
78 million people voted for Trump. They're not all MAGA. Mm-hmm. A lot of them were people who were just really angry and really hurting because they can't pay for things that they need. Healthcare, groceries, it's getting worse now. And so those people are going to have buyer's remorse. And we cannot judge them. We have to open our arms and welcome them. We need a big tent. Biden and Kamala didn't talk enough about the working class people. What the Democrats have to talk about is income inequality, what the Republicans are doing to our democracy, and to health care, and to food, and everything else. Everything we buy is going to be more expensive because of what Trump is doing.
Oh, what was the excuse under Biden? What was that excuse for high prices? You heard him yelling before that wages were up and inflation was down under Biden. Pure lies. Inflation was unbelievably high under Biden. Wages were down. The only wages that were up were government jobs that his administration was handing out to minorities at record levels. So we, taxpayers, were paying for these amazing jobs. These unbelievable job reports would come out every couple of months. And you realize, they're all government jobs, taxpayer jobs, not the private sector. But the prices of everything went up because what, Trump? There were 4 years of Biden in there. As I recall, during Trump, the prices were low during his 2016 presidency. And now, at least the price of energy is down, which drives the price of everything down. Prices are lower now than they were under Biden overall. There are certain items that they're not, but inflation is definitely down under Trump. It was horrific under Biden. But Jane Fonda's not going to tell you that. My favorite part of that clip, though, oh, my God. The people will get buyer's remorse. Why? What is Trump doing that's better than what Biden was doing to get to the point where you go, I wish Kamala Harris was president. I have buyer's remorse. I should have voted for that dimwit. They live in these Beverly Hills, Hollywood, Bel Air bubbles. Jane Fonda believes this old rag. She believes this. And then the kicker, the hug. We need a big tent. And all these Republicans that weren't MAGA, that have buyer's remorse, they're all going to stream in. And we have to wipe the disgusted look off our liberal faces and touch them and hug them. In what hallucination? In what 60s Barbarella hallucination does something like that actually happen? Where streams of Republicans go up to Democrats and go, hey, please hug me. This is how out of touch these people are. This is absolute insanity. If anything, like I was saying earlier, young liberals, very young liberals, grow up. And they don't have to come into a tent, and they don't need a humiliation ritual of hugging and going, I have buyer's remorse. They just become responsible Americans that go to work, pay their taxes, much to their chagrin. When they learn they have to pay taxes, that's when every liberal turns conservative. When they look at that tax taken out and go, where does this go? And their parents have to tell them all the programs that their money's going to. So that's how it works in that way. But in Jane Fonda's mentally ill mind, she has this image of Republicans, just all of them walking, heads slung low, crying, saying, please, please, Jane Fonda and company, forgive me. I was misled. I see now the error of my ways. Go drop another hit of acid, you commie. God. Just can't stand her. Oh, my God. Sitting there on a North Vietnamese anti-aircraft gun. The same gun that absolutely cost the lives of airmen or got them imprisoned in a Vietnamese POW camp. And she's sitting on there, smiling. That image will never go away, you bat. You old bat. Disgusting. And a little more Hollywood. Colbert. Stephen Colbert. He's kind of serving out the end of his tenure as the Late Show host. He was canceled a while back, but I guess they've given him about a year to pack up his crap and get out. Pack up the box with the plant in it and the nameplate for your desk and your blotter and pens and pencils and get out. So Colbert is saying that talk show hosts, like we've seen over the course of the years, and the amazing Johnny Carson, David Letterman, talk show hosts have a purpose other than what we're used to, making us laugh, entertaining us, interviewing some celebrity about their movie, not getting political, not dressing up as syringes and selling a vaccine to the public. Nothing like that. Colbert, he knows what talk show hosts are supposed to do. And he'll tell you right here. Let's listen.
I'm curious what you feel like the great affirmative case is for a show like yours.
Why should shows like mine continue to exist, or like Kimmel or Jimmy or whatever?
And I said everyone plays a great affection, which is why
I said why? Oh, we're like your friend who at the end of the day paid attention to the news more than you did. And you're aware of it. You just didn't do the detail work that we did. And then we curate that back to you at the end of the day. But it's really more about how we feel about it, or I as the person who is the vehicle for that, how we felt about today. All those things that might have made you confused or angry or anxious or happy or surprised or something like that. I feel that way at the camera, or to the audience, really. I'm really performing for the audience, and the camera captures it.
The pomposity of this tool. Are you kidding me? You, the people, the viewers of the Stephen Colbert Show, maybe he does have this right. The viewers are so either lazy or stupid. You cannot possibly disseminate the news. You can't possibly see what's going on. Read social media. See various outlets telling you the news. And put that all together by yourself. Do you have the ability to rationally reason? Of course you don't. You're lazy and stupid. Thank God we have Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel to take the news that we are much too idiotic to figure out and tell us what it all means without attaching an agenda to it whatsoever, I'm sure. I'm sure they're just taking the news and giving it to you without any bias whatsoever. To you lazy morons that just sit there drooling in front of the television watching their shows because you don't understand the news. You just don't get it. That's what talk show hosts are for? Did Johnny Carson do that? Arguably the greatest talk show host ever. Did he sit there and explain like you're an idiot the news to you? Or did he joke about the news without any political bias whatsoever? He'd have guests on his show, politicians from both sides of the aisle, and treat them equally and joke about them. If they had any faux pas during their career, that could come up without any indication by him who he supported. And these jackasses are so full of themselves that Stephen Colbert actually said this in public. You need him. You need him to explain the news to you. That makes a talk show. Well, that tells you why Stephen Colbert's ass is thrown out on Broadway from the Ed Sullivan Theater. Goodbye. And don't come back. All right, we'll be back in moments. Stick around. Well, Nancy Pelosi seems to be retiring. This was shocking. They usually wait till they have to take him out in a body bag, these lifer politicians. But I guess she wants to enjoy a little of that insider trading money that her and her husband have made on the stock market over the course of always, I guess. I don't know. That NVIDIA deal, oh, my God. You got a politician who is privy to information that directly affects a company's value on the stock market. They make policy. There are issues of conflict of interest that politicians know about. And this information could make you a very, very rich person or very rich couple if you're the Pelosi's. So she's finally retiring. I guess she wants to enjoy some of those hundreds of millions of dollars that her and her husband made. Her poor husband, you know, when someone's hitting you over the head with a ball-peen hammer, you're not really thinking about your next trade, your next big move. What is it, Tesla? Huh? Did you hear that guy got like life in prison? The guy that smashed Mr. Pelosi, Nancy's husband, over the head with a hammer. And there was weird. It was kind of a very dodgy situation. Was he invited? Were they friends? And he hit him over the head with a hammer a couple of times. Life in prison. Must be nice to have pull like Nancy Pelosi does in those situations, because we've seen a lot of really, really bad criminals who have murdered people re-released out onto the street to commit crimes against innocent citizens. Why? I'm not angry that he got life in prison. I'm angry that they don't give everyone that does that and more, like murder or rape, like we saw in this Brooklyn story, give them life. Guy bangs him over the head with a hammer, goes away for life. So she had some words, some choice words for Donald Trump, and it really is amazing because she calls Trump, I think, the worst thing on earth, and then the interviewer kind of reiterates that. He goes, "Wait, really? Like the worst thing on earth?" And she says, yes, the worst thing on earth. So it wasn't just a euphemism or a something she was just like, well, I was just saying, like, he's bad. She says it twice when the interviewer questions her about it. So she really thinks Donald Trump is the worst thing on earth, worse than cancer, worse than pedophilia, rape, all that. Donald Trump to Nancy Pelosi, the worst thing on earth. Let's listen to Nan.
It's just a vile creature. The worst thing on the face of the earth. But anyway.
You think he's the worst thing on the face of the earth?
I do, yeah. I do.
Why is that?
Because he's the President of the United States and he does not honor the Constitution of the United States. In fact, he's turned the Supreme Court into a rogue court. He's abolished the House of Representatives. He's chilled the press. He's scared people who are in our country legally.
I know you've said the focus is on Prop 50. I know you've said you won't talk about your future until after Prop 50, but there is speculation about what you're going to do next. Can you talk to us just about what the thought process is? How do you weigh the personal and the political?
Well, first of all, when people start, as in the press, speculating, is she going to run, is she not going to run?
You don't
other
really need the
people's
rest
file.
of it. Just wanted to hear her talk about Donald Trump being the worst thing on earth. And then what she says, you know, he's taken the Constitution. He's broken the Constitution, done things against the Constitution. If he had, don't you think the Democrats would be all over that? They've accused and prosecuted him for a lot less than that. If it was true, they would be doing something about it. The Supreme Court? Why? Because it's majority conservative? If it was the other way around, would it be a rogue Supreme Court? They just don't like when they don't get their way. And Pelosi's one of the biggest babies tearing up Trump's State of the Union address years back. We remember that one. And he chilled the press? No, the press realized no one believed them anymore. Not one person believed the media anymore. And they knew they had to change something. They were a joke. They still are. Believe me. They haven't done everything they have to do. They haven't even come close. But chilling the media by calling out their bias and lies? Oh, Nancy. Have another Harvey Wallbanger and enjoy your hundreds of millions of dollars on vacation. Take a Carnival cruise. You seem to be hip with the in crowd. Do that. Take your husband. Maybe he'll get more than a ball-peen hammer smacked over his stupid head. Can you believe it? But that's where we are. But she's leaving. That's good. Going to be interesting to see who takes that power vacuum, although she hasn't really been in power for quite some time. All right, people, I do love that you tune in every Sunday to hear me. We'll be back next Sunday. Anthony Cumia on X for my social media.